Hello, my name is Dr. Ori Quinn. I'm one of the doctors here at Ozark Holistic Center, and today I kind of want to run you through thyroid imbalances, the 6 patterns, to help you maybe in your journey of working through a thyroid issue, and also to kind of show you the way that we work and kind of think here at Ozark Holistic Center as physicians in trying to assess the different possibilities of problems with a condition like thyroid imbalances. So here we go. First, what is your thyroid? So it is a small butterfly-shaped gland located at the front of your neck. It makes and releases thyroid hormones, and thyroid hormones are responsible for controlling the speed of your body's metabolism, how many base level calories you burn in a day, and how quickly it can metabolize incoming calories. Just like that. Symptoms of thyroid imbalances include these and several and many other. You have low functioning or you have high functioning. So metabolism is tiredness, more sensitivity to cold, constipation, dry skin, weight gain, puffy face, hoarse voice, coarse hair and skin, low libido. Those are just a few of the different ones that could be there. Here in the office, there is several different types of blood tests that we run for thyroid imbalance. In the medical world at large, the most common is to run a TSH, which is the third one down there. We'll get to a little explanation of what that even is in a minute. But these are kind of the complete level of things that we might run or would run based on your symptoms. And we're hopefully in this video, we're going to show you kind of where each of these plug in. I won't go through the list since it's just a list of different blood tests. There we go. So we do take care a natural approach to the thyroid. So we're always working to find the imbalance. When we identify any supplements and herbs that may help with that imbalance, we make food changes to create the right balance in the body to support a healthy thyroid and give the body time to heal itself once the right support has been given, and then recheck appropriate findings. So I'm going to throw up on the page here. This is the pathway by which thyroid hormones are created. I don't want to make it be too confusing, even though this does look confusing. But it will help us in actually explain these different problems and different plays that thyroid imbalances can present. So, and then we start in the top left and work over to the bottom right. And so hypothalamus is actually in the brain, which releases a hormone known as TRH that goes to the pituitary. The pituitary then releases a hormone called TSH, the thyroid. Thyroid takes iodine, amongst other things, and then converts thyroid hormones, the T3, T4 at the bottom, that shows the percentages. Those go to the liver, in which they are then activated or engaged, and then those go out to different parts of the body in the form of T3 or T4 to have their effect. So ultimately their end effect is that cellular messaging RNA is their effect on the end organs and tissues. There we go. So the first one is called pituitary driven, and it comes from low serotonin, dopamine, excessive inflammation, or cortisol or prolactin. And so those are some of the tests that we can run in the blood work, some of those, and usually presents with a TSH below 1.8 and a T4 below 6. Sometimes you'll find a high sensitivity CRP level, which is an inflammatory marker, and maybe a high homocysteine level, which is part of the body's methylation and detoxification steps. So that falls into an issue in this area right here, as you can see on the screen, the hypothalamus and the pituitary. So it's pituitary driven, and that's your first step in looking at TSH levels in that way. Next one is the autoimmune version, which we commonly call Hashimoto's, which is 80% of all thyroid issues. At least that's what we're kind of seeing now. The pituitary driven used to be kind of more common, and as time has moved on, we're seeing way more of this. Most of the ones that come to my office fall into this category. So this is actually something in the immune system is causing the destruction of your thyroid. So part of the key here is to remove the offenders and support the balancing of the thyroid. So those offenders can be things like food intolerances, infections, heavy metals, inflammation, and other toxins, anything that's going to drive that immune system. And these are the kind of the tests that you would run to take a look at that. So the TBO and TGB are your antibodies. So you're specifically looking to see if the immune system is creating antibodies to the thyroid. And all these must be run. Then you got free T3, free T4, total T3, a couple things there. And we'll use some of those again in a minute. So that falls under this category right here. So in the thyroid itself and using the iodine for the creation of the T3, T4, and I didn't circle it quite right, but you got that TPO antibody right there. And so that's where the antibodies come in, and if they're present, we can identify that and realize that it is Hashimoto's. So we could do a whole video on Hashimoto's, and maybe I will in the future, but this is just to kind of identify the different ones. Next one is thyroid peroxidase. So this often comes from high stress, sometimes low progesterone, but this is definitely like the stress response one, and a deficiency in some of your cofactors. So this is potentially magnesium, zinc, B6, selenium, iron. Deficiency in any of those can affect this. These help iodine bind to the protein to create the thyroid hormones, and that is found right here in that TPO, just like that, right? In this step right there. Next one is thyroid binding globulin, which is another reason we have to run this. And this is definitely not as common, more of all these different options, one of the kind of lower on the list. But it too can come from elevated estrogen or insulin levels, which is why in that first list of blood work, we do run estrogen and insulin. And the key here is to work to lower insulin and estrogen levels in order to downregulate and help the thyroid binding globulin work. There we go. That comes from this step, very important step here as you move towards the liver. Next one is a downregulation of 5-deiodinase. It's a fun little word there, deiodinase. And this comes from the conversion of T4 to T3 via the removal of an iodine. Reverse T3 becomes a possible indicator here, so that's something you can run in the blood work. And then cofactors also become important here of the magnesium, zinc, B6, selenium, and iron. So in the body, T3 is the active form of thyroid hormones. They're the ones that work on the end tissue, like the muscles and the organs, and determine metabolism. T4 is what the body uses as a storage mechanism. It has a much longer shelf life. It can last in the blood for a longer period of time. T3 does not last very long at all. So it saturates the blood with the T4, and then when it needs to use it, it converts it at the tissue and in the liver in order to get the T3. And that again happens kind of right there at that liver step. And so you involve that enzyme right there, and then you reverse T3, and these are kind of your percentages of what's working there. Receptor site resistance. So this can, in the blood work, possible elevated homocysteine. This is actually the most difficult to identify and to help, because what this ultimately means is where that T3 hormone is supposed to bind on the end organ in order to make it do its function, like increase metabolism, help improve blood flow with like heat regulation, things like that, that there is an actual issue there where it's binding. So the brain's working right, the thyroid's working right, and then you have an issue at the very end point. So it will be most often the one that presents with normal blood work across the board, but they're still having all the symptoms of thyroid problems. So that's kind of how we identify it. And like I said, maybe you'll have an elevated homocysteine. This one really looks at true whole body healing. So you got lower stress levels, detoxify, heart rate tracking. This one does not have a quick and easy, oh, it turns out you just don't have enough tyrosine or enough iodine or something like that. It really takes kind of taking a whole approach to bring this down. And this happens here at this last step right here at the cellular messenger RNA. That's where it actually affects, that T3 has its effect in the tissues themselves. So I realize that was kind of a quick pass through of looking at thyroid, the possible thyroid imbalances, kind of how we assess those, what type of blood work we use for the different factors, as well as symptoms. Sometimes the symptoms do differentiate a little bit throughout those different categories, and we try to kind of work through that and process through that. So I hope this was helpful. Like always, if this really does interest you, or you have more questions, or you think you might fall into one of these categories and thyroid might be the problem you have, please schedule an appointment or a free consultation, which is available. It is with one of our doctors. It really is no pressure whatsoever. We actually love the chance to sit down and kind of talk with people, kind of go through their history, what's going on, ideas and thoughts that we have based on that. It gives us a chance to talk about what possible blood work would be run in those scenarios ahead of time, and to really see if we're kind of the right fit for what you're looking for in your health journey and to help regulate your thyroid. So thank you guys.